Okay, well, do you know what I love hearing about? I love hearing about businesses that challenge that norm. That norm in business is about profit, profit, profit only. They're thinking about people, health. They're thinking about food waste, the environment, and stuff like that. And at Infobip, they also like different people challenging things. And so we're going to move from business into finance now, and people challenging the traditional finance mechanisms. While people are kind of slowly coming in, I want to ask anyone, who here has 97,933 euros in their bank right now? Anyone? No one's going to say, are they? What about if you have one Bitcoin in your wallet, in your crypto wallet? Does anyone have one whole Bitcoin? There we go. There's a few of them. There's a few of them. So they don't have the 97,933 euros in their PBZ Erste or whatever they have, but they do have a Bitcoin. And that's what we're going to hear about now. We're going to hear about the startups that focused on Bitcoin, not crypto, and the startup journey that few dare to take. So let's welcome to the stage David Knezic, the founder and CEO at Pocket Bitcoin, Roy Scheinfeld, the co-founder and CEO at Breeze, Adam Bilikan, developer at Rel AI, and our moderator, one of ours, it's Filip Djorovic, the Startup Partnerships Associate from Infobip. Welcome to the stage, guys. Grab a microphone. Over to you, Filip.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Filip Djorovic and I work as Startup Partnership Associate at Infobip. They say building a startup takes a huge risk, but what if your biggest risk is building on top of something that most people don't even understand? While much of the world chases fast money, tokens, and hype, our panelists have chosen to take a different path and to build on the king of decentralization, Bitcoin. And just like every other major shift in the human history, it always takes few people who dare to believe before everyone else. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome David, founder of Pocket Bitcoin, Roy, co-founder of Breeze Technology, and Adam, co-founder of Relay. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us, Filip.
Gentlemen, I would like to open this panel by giving each one of you 15 seconds to introduce yourself and in one sentence explain what your startup does. David, we can start from you.
All right. Thanks, Filip. Hi, everyone. I'm David. I'm originally a software engineer turned founder. Have been in the Bitcoin space for a while. I'm based in Switzerland, but originally from Croatia, actually, which you might have thought by the last name. And Pocket. So Pocket is the company I founded 5 years ago. We essentially make it as easy as possible to save in Bitcoin and as easy as possible as making a bank transfer, right? So you have a Pocket bank account, and as soon as you send money there, it automatically gets converted in Bitcoin and paid into your own wallet where you hold the keys, right? And we also do the return way of that.
I'm Roy, the CEO of Breeze. Breeze, our goal is to help Bitcoin transform from digital gold to a currency, to a medium of exchange. And we are doing that by providing developers tools, specifically an SDK, that they can embed in their application and services to facilitate Bitcoin payments within their solutions.
Adam?
Hi everyone, I am Adem, co-founder and CTO at Relay, where we are in the very similar business than Pocket. We want to make Bitcoin as easy as possible with a mobile-first approach. So we provide a mobile app available in the App Store to let our users easily buy and sell Bitcoin and Bitcoin only.
Thank you. Let's start with first question, kind of obvious one. Why Bitcoin only? And what made you choose to build on Bitcoin when most of the VCs and wider ecosystem push toward crypto? Adam, we can start from you.
Well, it's more of it goes beyond just the financial aspect. It's we know each other for a while. We've been into Bitcoin for years now. There is the whole philosophical aspect as well. So it's been clear from the beginning that we want to go Bitcoin only. As looking at all the other cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin is the only one that is truly decentralized. that uses a proper consensus model called proof of work compared to the others that use proof of stake. So these are the main reasons why we've been into Bitcoin from the beginning. Then there is always obviously the USP aspect, coming to a platform with a very simple USP that is Bitcoin only. I mean, I know other platforms who has multiple cryptocurrencies, and actually there are even multiple Bitcoins, quote unquote, but there is only one in the end that is the true Bitcoin, and that's the one we wanted to focus on. And I know we'll come to it later, but it played really well for us to focus on Bitcoin only.
Thank you. Roy?
Well, I like to say that I didn't choose Bitcoin. Bitcoin chose me, kind of. I've been in Bitcoin since 2013, and when you go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, then there's no escape. Like you're down with it for life, kind of. Well, to echo what Adam said, Bitcoin is the only truly decentralized, open, censorship-resistant monetary network. And what we're trying to do, we're trying to build an alternative financial system, alternative to the existing financial system. And you can't do that if you're building on a foundation that isn't solid. You need a very robust foundation in order to do that. And the only technology, the only monetary network that provides that is obviously Bitcoin. You can't really build on sand. And when you talk about crypto, there are two things about crypto. It's either the crypto is built by a centralized entity, a centralized company, a centralized foundation, or alternatively, it's a casino play, basically. People are pumping their tokens, people are pumping their coins in order to facilitate hype cycles, like what we call pump and dump. And that's not what we're trying to do. Bitcoin is an asset, yes. But what more importantly is Bitcoin is a technology. It's a technology that allows you to build an alternative financial system. And that's what we're doing in our startups because we're building a technology. It's not about kind of the asset itself. The asset is important, and there's a very important reason why Bitcoin price always goes up. But what's more important for me, at least, is the fact that Bitcoin can really facilitate and transform human behavior. We can have a global currency using Bitcoin. You can't really have that with an alternative crypto.
Definitely,
solutions.
That's something we'll dig more deep as panel goes. David, what about you?
What they said, I think everything was said. We in our business, which targets long-term investors, who, are in search of an asset where they can invest, which is like, not gold, not stocks, which is already all over the place. We noticed that there is no alternative sort of investment really to Bitcoin in the crypto sense, right? I mean, I see there is a trend if you have a very short time perspective, like you want to try to make a quick buck on a certain crypto coin, then yeah, sure, you can try some of the alternative coins. But if you really have a long time perspective, long time preference, you don't want to track all the coins that are coming up and going down and whatnot. You just buy Bitcoin, and that's what we see every day.
Yeah. Question for Roy and Adam. So your startups have successfully raised VC. But let's rewind to those early days. You're in front of investors who don't fully understand the technology behind Bitcoin and that are kind of skeptic why are ignoring the broader crypto market. Can you let us know what kind of reaction did you get and how did you navigate it through?
Well, I didn't. So when I started Breeze, I pitched to traditional VC, and it was super challenging. It was very hard to educate investors about Bitcoin. So eventually, what I did, I found Bitcoin investors that already understood Bitcoin, and then it was easy to explain to them why our solution is critical for the success of Bitcoin. Later on, with our success as a company, we were able kind of to approach traditional VCs and being judged by traditional metrics. But when you go initially and trying to pitch something that there's no hook, like there's no, with investors it's always about FOMO, right? They need to feel that they're missing out on someone, on something. And when you do that, I tried to do that on Bitcoin, they didn't get it at all. Bitcoiners understand that because they understand the opportunity, not just for Bitcoin as an asset, but Bitcoin as a way that can kind of penetrate our usage patterns and the way that we behave.
Adem, what was your experience?
Very close to what Roy said. So since the beginning, for us, it was obvious that we will go the VC way. We always wanted to build a startup and go the VC way. We started with angel investors, so usually FFF, so people that we just know that would put small tickets in. Some of them Bitcoiners, some of them not. When the first VC get in, what was more important was the team more than what we were building. So they cared more about the team and all that stuff. And only then we got to VCs that were convinced already by Bitcoin and made our life easier. But to also say that we did, quote unquote, lose, we didn't lose. In hindsight, it was best for us. But we got some deals that didn't work out because we didn't add extra other cryptocurrencies to our platform. Because the logic was obvious, like you're making X with Bitcoin, just add Ethereum and Solana and whatever and just do the same from all these other coins, right? On paper, it seems obvious, but it happened that some deals didn't end up because they insisted on us having other cryptocurrencies, which we didn't want to.
David, with you, we have different situations. So you were bootstrapping from the start. Can you let us know why bootstrapping, and did you think of raising an investment?
I don't know, maybe because we like pain. No, I mean, I think there is both sides. So yeah, we did not take the venture capital route. We did not, I mean, of course we did invest. We got investment in the company, but it was by the founders, right? So we decided to just spend a year, the three of us, so I have two co-founders, just working for free, kind of, without pay, and building something that we felt there is a gap. I mean, the aim was to make it as easy for our parents to buy Bitcoin, right? Because they won't go and sign in and like have an account and deposits and exchange back like that. They won't do that. Like it has to be as easy as sending money, and that's it, right? And so yeah, I mean, we were, ready to take the risk, and we just spent a year building it. And I think it was also luck involved that there was this need somehow in the Bitcoin space. And, there is a lot of Bitcoiners, they will prefer a Bitcoin company, like a Bitcoin-only company, even if it's more expensive, even if it charges more. They will use a Bitcoin-focused company just because it matches their own ideas and their own vision. And yeah, I mean, early on, right when we launched, we got enough revenue to essentially start covering for the, let's say, basic expenses, right? And this is how we further grew. And I mean, we never like explicitly said, no, we do not want to have VCs involved, but it was just never really necessary. But yeah, of course, it's also, and I guess there is benefits, like for us, until now, we never had to care about our company valuation. Like no one asks us about how much value has your company, so we can fully focus on like delivering the value that we think, right, to the Bitcoiners. But yeah, I mean, it's still like, like the risk is fully on us, so that's the negative side, definitely, yeah.
One question for the audience. How many of you think that Bitcoin is digital gold and agree with that? Okay, we have some hands up. So, right when we talk about Bitcoin, most people actually do connect it with kind of digital gold, something that you get in as an asset and hold. But your startup flips that idea by building on the Lightning Network. Can you briefly explain to the audience what the Lightning Network is and why is this important actually for us?
Yeah, but before I get to explaining how the technology works and how is it used, just to touch on the digital gold kind of mindset. So yes, Bitcoin is definitely digital gold. what we call a store of value. But it's also a great medium of exchange, and people tend to forget that. And what we do is capitalize on the value proposition of Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. So in blockchain technology, there's always a challenge because blockchain inherently, blockchains don't scale. There's like a famous blockchain trilemma. You can imagine a triangle, and on one corner of the triangle is scalability, the other corner of the triangle is decentralization, and security is the third corner. So when you try to balance scalability, decentralization, and security, you can't really do that in blockchains. So Bitcoin is very heavily focused on decentralization and security, but it doesn't scale because of it. So the basic, what we call layer one, the basic blockchain can process up to 7 transactions per second. So obviously that's not enough to facilitate Bitcoin as a monetary network. If we want to make Bitcoin an alternative to what we call fiat, which is money printed by government, we need to process much more transactions per second. And then comes the Lightning Network into play. Lightning is a second layer technology that allows Bitcoin to scale. It allows Bitcoin to facilitate a higher throughput of payment in a much cheaper way. And I can go deeper into the technology and explain why and how does it accomplish that. But I think what's important to understand is that Lightning is an extension of Bitcoin. And everything that we're building, we're actually building on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not just the blockchain technology, it's also the layer 2 technologies that are associated and building on Bitcoin. And Bitcoin isn't just digital gold, it is a digital gold, but imagine we could use gold electronically, digitally, in the internet. That's what actually Bitcoin is the ability to facilitate value transfer from everywhere in the world to everywhere in the world and by anyone. So instead of relying on third-party intermediaries, on payment processors and on banks, we can circumvent all that and just use Bitcoin. It's a peer-to-peer electronic cash. By the way, that's the title of the Bitcoin white paper, peer-to-peer electronic cash.
Yes. Thank you. Adam, Relay makes buying Bitcoin as easy as possible. How hard is it for you to hide all the technology behind Bitcoin and deliver just a simple interface to end users?
Well, there is a saying, making things easy is hard, actually. So we've been facing this for quite some time now. It's a challenge for us to make it easy while we also educate the users. The idea is not to hide anything, right? We also want our users to know what they're doing. But when as David said, we want our parents to use it as well, I also don't want my parents to go deep the rabbit hole, as we call it, and know all the details. What they want is a savings technology or spendings, depending on what for you're using Bitcoin, but they want to use it as quickly as possible. So in the app, we make sure that some non-critical parts are hidden in a way that, for example, when users are sending a Bitcoin transaction, we don't let them pick the exact fee for the transaction. We just say slow, medium, fast, and that's it. They don't need to give a number because they will not understand. At the same time, we also have an education-oriented approach, meaning that there's a newsletter that will also inform them about what are transaction fees, what is mining, what is using Bitcoin, and all the other information. We still make sure that we can educate our users by giving them as many information as possible. One other approach that we tried, or we thought about it, we didn't try it, would be some sort of gamification in the app. So based on what they take, some sort of actions that they would take in the app, they would earn something and they will learn about Bitcoin. So this is what we try to achieve, but the balance is definitely not easy.
Definitely. David, Pocket Bitcoin kind of stands out with automated recurring buys and ensuring users always hold their own keys. Can you explain to the audience what holding your own keys means and what keys actually present and what keys are?
All right, yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, it follows up on what you said, Roy, that Bitcoin is an electronic cash. And I think why it's hard to understand, like, how this key thing works and everything is because people think that their money in their bank is already electronic or digital. But it's not really true. It just lives in a database in the bank, right? So you can move it there, you can move it to another bank, but there is proprietary like payment rails, and Bitcoin is different, right? Bitcoin is one big database of transactions. There is a map which says this much Bitcoin belong to this address, and this database is distributed like across the whole world. And how it works is essentially you have like you have these addresses where it says you have so and so much Bitcoin, and now you have a private key, a key, right? And only the person holding the key, it can be saved in a phone, it can be written on a piece of paper, there can be different ways how the key looks. Only the person that actually owns the key can move the Bitcoin. And here is the sort of crazy thing, right? Because now you can actually own an asset which is saved like on thousands of computers all around the world, and you can move it from wherever you want. You just need to have the key, right? You're not bound to a specific bank, to a specific custodian. You can do with it whatever you want. It's like cash, but electronic, right? And so the key, just imagine it as a password you save in a mobile phone, you save on a piece of paper. Some people even like put it in a metal plate if they have like huge assets, right? Yeah. I hope that's a good explanation. I don't know.
Just follow-up question. So Pocket as well offers its own wallet. It's an open source wallet. If it's an open source, do users actually hold their own keys there?
This is a huge discussion in the Bitcoin space. Yeah, so we offer a mobile app and you can have it, and there you have the keys. The keys are stored locally in your app, right? And Pocket as a company does not know the keys. There is no transfer of them. Well, yeah, I mean, I would say there is definitely a population in the Bitcoin community that says or claims that this is non-custodial, because as long as the keys are not transferred to the provider cannot do anything, right? But there is trust involved, absolutely, and this is why the app, as Pocket has, as Relay has, I mean, Breeze, you also offered a mobile app where you store the keys. This is, great for smaller amounts. Like you start using Bitcoin, you explore it. Yeah, we always say you hold as much Bitcoin in your mobile soft wallet as you would hold in your physical wallet, euros or whatever, right? And then as soon as it grows and it's more, you just really have to get a hardware wallet. This is super important, yeah.
Since we all agree that Bitcoin does have function of being digital gold and having that function of being an asset, if we look at the balance sheet and if we check the asset side, Bitcoin comes with its own technical and regulatory challenges. What has been the biggest regulatory challenge your startup has faced, and how did you overcome it?
Well, we can talk about this for hours, I believe. It's been quite challenging, especially lately with a new regulation that is now active in Europe called MiCA, Market in Crypto Assets. And our challenge, I think it applies to all of us here, is really to explain Bitcoin. That's where we struggle the most. How to tell them what it is about, how it works. Sometimes we have someone who wants to listen in front of us, so it makes our life easier, but most of the time they don't care, they don't want to care, they just consider Bitcoin as any other crypto assets, and they put it as a high-risk asset that we need to deal with, and all the responsibility is on our end, while we still want to make the onboarding, offboarding as easy as possible, but we are forced to have processes like know your customer, when you need to upgrade, put your ID, your picture, and all that stuff. So again, it's a question of balance, where we want to make sure that it's as easy as possible, But to keep being in business, we also need to follow some rules, and we do our best to make it a game. The most important is the user in front of us.
Roy?
Our approach was not to deal with regulation in a sense that Breeze is completely self-custodial. It offers self-custodial infrastructure. We don't have access to user funds. We can't steal user funds, and we don't exchange Bitcoin with fiat or anything like that. So the challenges weren't on the regulatory side. It was actually on the operating side of the business. Go and explain an accountant how to account for lightning fees, for example. So when I remember the first time I kind of had this discussion with my accountant, he asked me why we don't issue an invoice for a lightning fee for a Bitcoin transaction. So having that discussions with people that don't understand how Bitcoin works and don't understand how Bitcoin operates, and kind of putting Bitcoin into kind of the traditional fiat system accounting or legal framework, that was kind of the biggest challenge.
David, can you share your experience?
I think a lot of it has been said. To add to Adem's point, I mean, the many changes in regulatory frameworks, this is a challenge. We are not a big company. We are like a bit below 15 people, and I would say this year half of the resources were going into legal, regulatory processes and improvements, right? And this is something, unfortunately, the customer doesn't really see, like they do not appreciate that. And but I think it has to do with the many changes that were, and I think there is a lot of clarity now. Hopefully, there won't be, I don't know, like too many huge changes in the future, so we can dedicate more into like user, value generation and new features that the user actually can use, right?
Thank you. On this one, I just want a simple yes or no. If you knew about all this pain up front, would you still have done it?
Well,
Simple.
Life is boring without pain. I would probably do it again, yes. Yeah.
Okay, we have one yes.
Well, I don't know. I wake up every day with a smile on my face, and I enjoy what I do, and we have users, and we have partners, and we're able kind of to bring value. So definitely yes, but when someone asks me whether they should start a company or run a startup, I always say no. Because it's like being an artist. It's like it's very only if you absolutely have to and you can get it out of your system, do it. Like Elon Musk always say that running a startup is like chewing glass, staring at the abyss, and that's how it actually feels like. And when the entire world doesn't understand what actually, my parents still don't understand what I do, by the way. Like they only send me articles when the Bitcoin price is going up or down, but they don't understand what the value proposition, what do we provide. So it's always a challenge.
And it will be a yes for me as well, just because if it wasn't for Relay or for the challenges that we face with Bitcoin, it will be something else, to be honest. I think it's some sort of a mindset, as you said. I mean, there has to be some challenges in front of us so we can face them and overcome them. So yeah, definitely.
And I mean, if I may add, right, if there are challenges, if it's challenging to bring value to a customer, it's an indication that it might be worth doing, right? Customers will pay for it. And it's not like the Bitcoin-only space is really small. It's so small, So don't listen to Roy's advice. If you want to start a Bitcoin-focused company, do it. We will help in any way, even if we compete.
No, I'm joking. It feels, how it feels like, and I think we share the same sentiment, like working on Bitcoin. It's like working on the internet in the early days, before people understood the true potential of the internet. That's how it feels like. It feels like we know something that the world ignores and don't understand, but it will soon happen. So I think it's a good ecosystem to build in.
Amazing. Gentlemen, thank you so much for this great panel. I would like to give this last minutes to the audience to ask if they have any questions. We have one question.
Hi guys, I just have one question. What do you think about the theory of the Bitcoin's mass adoption? And what do you think, is it possible for Bitcoin that is totally decentralized to replace the fiat currency that are currently most used? And do you see the Bitcoin do you see the Bitcoin as replaced for the gold, like an asset, or like the replacement of the fiat currency? Yeah.
Can you just can you repeat the first question? It was something.
I asked about the theory of the mass adoption of the Bitcoin.
All right, okay. Thanks. Well, I can start. I think everyone probably has a different view on that. Yeah, there is the mass adoption theory that Bitcoin, because it's not inflationary, it will be like a magnet because the more currencies fail and get inflated. It's similar to how gold, the gold price always went up, like for, you know, like forever, basically. Of course, there were dips, but it goes up. It's kind of an indicator of how these fiat currencies inflate, and because, you know, we measure gold in fiat usually. I don't really have that extreme opinion. I don't really think that Bitcoin will replace all fiat currencies. You know, if there is a deep overlap between Bitcoiners and libertarians, and if you're a libertarian really, then you should believe in a competition of currencies, and this is why I don't think Bitcoin will everyone will be paying everything in Bitcoin in, I don't know, 100 years. But I think Bitcoin will keep the other currencies in check. You know, it will be a more accessible gold, because buying gold, there is friction. Buying Bitcoin, there is less friction because it's digital. And it will be easier to opt out of national currencies if the nation is inflating them, you know, and we can see it, there are countries that are excessively inflating their currencies, and there the Bitcoin adoption is highest. So not just also stable coins, dollars, but also Bitcoin. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening, and please give one round of applause for our panelists.